Hi, I'm Dan from Dan Shoots Nature and landscape photographer. I've been a professional for 2 years, and COVID really drove me to follow my passion in photography. Now I'm here at Kinbane Castle in the beautiful Northern Ireland with Wex Photo Video to show you how I shoot landscapes and to show you how I use light to make a shot more dynamic. The perfect sunrise shot is all about preparation. So you need to make sure you're there at least half an hour before, and let me show you my steps to getting the perfect composition for sunrise. So I use photo pills to gauge where the sun is going to be. You should see on my screen right now that as I drag across, you can see the timings of where the sun is. So in about 10 minutes or so, the sun should peek over that cloud. And what we want to do is make sure that we've got a shot where the sun is in between the castle and the rocks opposite, which means we've got to come over this way, and we should be around here. So then, once you know the sun is through there, it's all about making sure you've got a decent foreground and a decent composition leading up to the main show. Well, we finally made it to Giant's Causeway. It's a little bit busy, so we're going to wait till the crowds die down before we actually take the images we want to, but that means it's time for what's in my camera bag. As I alluded to earlier, I do shoot on 2 cameras. This particular one is the Canon R6. I absolutely love this camera for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's fantastic in low light. Number 2 is it's 20 megapixels. Now, some people might find that strange that I love that it's a lower megapixel count than my other camera, but actually, when you're looking at file sizes, it's actually really, really easy to manage, and it is still absolutely sharp. And the other camera in my bag is the Canon R5. Now, it's kind of the opposite. It gives me the extra megapixels that I need on shots that are so far in the distance that actually even 200mm doesn't get me, and it allows me to crop in further. So that gives me a little bit more flexibility on composition in post-production. It's not as good in low light, but it's a trade-off, and that's why I've got both. When everyone thinks about landscape photography, they usually think about grand, wide images. But as I explained earlier, I'm actually a big fan of the finer details in things. I usually couple the R5 with the RF 70-200 because I get that 200mm reach and also get that crop. So not only do I get that finer detail straight in camera, but I can have even more detail when I crop it in post. Although I am a massive fan of getting those finer details cropped in, I am really a big fan of those classic shots. It's not my normal style, but I just can't not have that option in my bag. So this is a 2.8 lens. It's the 15-35 RF Canon lens that is stabilized as well. So that allows me to shoot handheld in low light. And also, because of it being 2.8 and 15mm, it is perfect for astrophotography. As a landscape photographer, and especially an astrophotographer, you really do need a tripod. And you want one that is going to stand the test of time. You don't want to skimp on this one. So I've gone for the Manfrotto B3 Advanced. This thing is extremely lightweight, compact, and really easy to set up. For me, it's about speed, comfort, and sturdiness, and this offers all 3. I also like to capture behind the scenes footage as much as I can, and I've gone for the Insta360 1R. That allows me to clamp it to either my backpack on the straps or on the tripod, or even unscrew it and screw it into the cage that I have on the R5. That means that wherever I go, I can actually show how I do what I do without too much of a disruption to doing what I do. Now, being prepared means making sure you've got enough batteries and making sure they're charged, because you don't want to be on shoots and having a half-charged battery and the light becomes perfect and then, it's dead. That is the worst feeling in the world. So I recommend getting 2 or 3 spare batteries just to make sure that in any situation you've got more power than you need. Also, in terms of safety, a head torch. It sounds really, really silly, but this is probably the most important thing in my camera bag, because I start a shoot before sunrise. That means I can't see much. You know, I might trip up, fall down a landscape, and I am no more. And the same applies to staying out after sunset and astro. The best thing about this being a head torch means that I can then climb where I need to, means that if I do want to take a shot at any point, then I haven't got to put the torch down somewhere, risk it rolling down a cliff and losing my light completely. So to me, a head torch is absolutely essential. Okay, so what I'm just positioning up now is I've spotted that there's some interesting rocks with some kind of mist and fog in the background, which adds some depth, really, really nice. And the colours in the sky are beautiful. I'm actually not interested in the detail in the rocks. And so what I'm going to do is silhouette those rocks to really accentuate the depth in the photo. So this is at f11 1/200th of a second and ISO 2500. And what you'll see from this image is it's really kind of focusing on the sky. That is the centerpiece of the image, but with some interest alongside it to make it not just a picture of some pretty colours in the sky. So I hope you like it. Well, the sun has just peeked over the cloud, and I'm now actually getting the shot that I want, which, I do like that. The sky looks lovely. I need to get a wide as well, but the tight shot that I've got is kind of really what I wanted. Actually, there's another composition that I'm just going to take myself off of the tripod that I've just spotted right now. Wait for that bird to just come in frame. No, he flew behind that. Typical. What I'm now just waiting for is for a bird to fly into frame, and I want that sun right in the middle. What I'm also going to do is just bend down a little bit so that the sun is dead center in the frame. There we go. There's a bird flying over at the top. Look at that! Oh, mate! Sorry, we've got to... yeah, I need to take the shot. Ooh, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Sorry, back to the film. Now, the one thing that I've just noticed is that there's kind of a streak of light coming across these rocks. Oh, yes, and it does come out well on camera as well. That does look really nice. So instead of just focusing on directly capturing the sun at sunrise, you can see that the dynamic range of light that then kind of hits the rocks, hits the grass, hits everything, like this waterfall. It just makes it so much more interesting than a flat shot of just grey light, nothing. That's why it's so worth it getting up early, capturing the sunrise, or staying up just that little bit later to capture sunset, because the angle of the sun, oh, look at that. Look at that. One thing that's hugely important when you're shooting the sunrise is to not just be one-track mind. It's to make sure that you actually look all around. If you were looking directly at the sun, all you're getting is like that really intense light. But if you look across over here, you'll see that there's really interesting light along those cliffs. And the contrast between the light and the dark there is actually so much more impactful on an image, because it actually shows all the contours and just how interesting that landscape is. Whereas if you were to shoot with just direct light, it kind of doesn't really give it the sense of earth and the sense of gravitas that it really does have. When you go out and take photos of landscapes, you really need to be thinking not just about, is this a good image? Is the exposure right? It's actually more about what sort of story are you telling? When you have just a wide angle or just a tight lens, it kind of doesn't allow you to really tell the story fully. I'll give you an example. I'll take this photo here and I'll take this at 15mm. Now, this photo, that photo there, it shows you everything. But what I can actually see with my eyes, at 15mm is really, really wide, and it doesn't pick out the little details that actually your eyes can see. And your eyes really see at around 40, 50mm. So when you then take a telephoto lens, you're going from 70mm, you're actually picking out details that your eyes didn't quite see. So we'll go 70mm and take that image. And on this image, you can see that actually gives a bit more of the story of the rocks, a bit more of a story of the sea and how calm or how kind of choppy the waves are. And then if you go all the way in at 200mm, you can actually see those waves hitting the rock. And you can see that actually, oh, there's some birds that are flying around that actually from here, I can't see that. But you actually can't get there because the sea is in the way. So a telephoto lens allows you to kind of see things that you wouldn't have been able to see before. And it's probably why telephoto is my favourite lens for landscape photography, because I like to show detail and I really like to be able to show things in a way that you wasn't able to quite experience it with your eyes. And I think a lot of landscape photographers will probably agree with me on that when you're able to really pick out some details, you're able to really focus in on what was important and what you were feeling at that time. So the light just up this rock here, earlier I don't think it was right, but now it's got a really lovely contrast of the light on one side and the shadows on the other. And let's see what we can make of that. Now this is a massive testament as to why you should walk around. Now, I'd planned a shot down at the bottom to get the sun coming through. And if I'd have just stayed there, taken that shot and then walked home, well, not home obviously, but back to the car, then we would have missed this shot. It's another big tip is to always look back. You're walking forwards, the most amazing thing you've ever seen might be behind you. So keep your eyes open, keep your camera close to your chest so you can get it out at any time. So just over there that you can see is Rathlin Island, and just a little bit further in the distance, quite hazy, you might not be able to see it on camera, but hopefully you will, that's Scotland. Bonkers. So we just completed sunrise here in Kinbane Castle, and what we're going to do now is go and get breakfast, because something that is major in photography is yourself. Your camera only works if you work. So make sure that you take some time to rest, to eat, to rehydrate, and ensure that your body is in the right fit state to take photos. What a stunning location. What a stunning location. More to come. Okay, and now we're at the giant causeway. That's what you've all been waiting for. Let's go. Okay, so we've decided to come and take the more scenic route along the top of the rocks. And I don't regret it. Look at that view, just look at that. I mean, unbelievable. So we don't know exactly what we're going to see because neither of us have been here before, but I'm excited. So let's get to it. So I'm just taking another image here of the cliffs with a person on it to give it that perspective and really show the scale of the sheer cliff that they're standing upon. Wonderful. The area is quite a strange one. They've got some really lovely patterns, and finding good composition is, because there's so much going on, it's kind of quite strange. And I've never actually taken a photo of anything like this. So it's quite a challenge, and I'm really quite enjoying it. I'm playing around with shutter speed to kind of give myself a little bit of a challenge and try and come up with something a little bit different. So yeah, I do hope you like this image. We've got something that has been dubbed God rays. Essentially, it's beams of light coming through the clouds. Those clouds are absolutely bonkers, and far off in the distance, you've got bits of the sun breaking through, and it just looks sublime. And that's exactly why you can't be without a wide-angle lens, because seeing that in all its glory, I mean, there's a storm coming in. There's definitely a storm coming in. Look at that. Oh. personally, I think there's a lot more to Giant's Causeway than the actual causeway itself. I found myself drawn to the rocks and everything that was on top of the cliffs, and I found much better compositions that way. So if that's if you find yourself visiting and you want to take photos and you're not getting what you think, try going up the top, see what you see. So we're now finishing up at Giant's Causeway because number one, a storm's coming and those rocks are not safe. Number two, I was a little bit underwhelmed. There's lots of people, so every time you find some kind of composition that you might like, someone just walks in front of it. So we've found a different location that could be wonderful for sunset, and if we're lucky enough to have clear skies, then we might get some astro. Let's get going. So we've now come to Carrick-a-Reed, which is the rock in the road. There's a wonderful rope bridge, and we're going to see what kind of images we can get here. So currently I can see that the little island over there is half lit and half not. Right, so for this shot I'm using the Canon R5 with a 70-200 lens. The reason being, obviously, the rock itself is far out into the distance and I want the detail of the actual shot itself, and the R5 using it for the pixel count. I probably won't want to crop in, but it gives me that option if I do want to take any detail from the image later on in post. Okay, it's the first time we've seen the rope bridge, and I'm just gonna grab a shot, but I don't think the angle is particularly perfect. I just want to kind of show a little bit of scale. I might even stitch two images together for this particular shot. Just get on there a little bit. Right, so what I'm going to do is to blur out this background a little bit. I'm going to shoot at f2.8, and yeah, I'm going to stitch two images together in post for a panorama. 1, 2. Yeah, I'm happy with those. Right, let's move on. Okay, we're just about to cross over the rope bridge. I hate heights, so I'm doing this for you, just to get you a shot. Let's go. So the reason why I pack a 70-200 is for a scene kind of like this, where I really want to capture the waves, but in context of the situation. Here we've got a rock protruding from the cliff. You've got a speck of light just on the top, and then shadows underneath with waves crashing in. With a wide angle lens, the waves get lost. And actually for me, the feeling that I have right now, all I can hear are seabirds and waves. What I want to do is kind of tell that story in an image of the waves crashing underneath, where it's kind of really quite shadowy, with then this tip of light just on top of the rock. Really makes the image for me. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so I think we're done with this location now. We'll move on to a third location. There's perhaps a fourth, maybe even a fifth. We'll see. We'll see how the light treats us, and we'll move on. Let's go. Ah, not again. It's that rope bridge, James. Don't like this. I don't like this.
Fire back up.
Now, we had a storm coming in, so I thought, let's come down to Castle Rock Beach. It makes the sea choppy. We have some colour, but not a direct sunset. We have dramatic sky, and we have choppy water. Let's see what we can get. So, spotted some rocks that we can use as foreground. We've got a dramatic sky and we've got a background as well. I think this is going to be a killer shot. At this point, you need to get your camera out without putting it on the tripod and have a look and see what kind of composition you think will work best. Now for me, I want to go quite wide to get as much of that sky in as possible. Now, that means I might need to come closer to my foreground. Now the tide's coming in, the water is coming fairly close, and that's going to allow me to reflect the sky slightly in the water. I'm quite happy with that. Yeah. So just have a look. Okay. I think for me, what's going to work best is a vertical composition. Once you've worked out your composition, that's when you get your camera on a tripod, nail that composition exactly how you want it to be, and fire off your shot. Right, everyone, it looks like that is it for today. We've captured all we can, I believe, because the storm is coming in. We were thinking about doing some astro, but with clouds like that, I think it's very unlikely. If you want to see my pictures from today, I'll pop them on Instagram. There'll be a link in the description. I will leave you with a few of my favourite photos from today. I think this very first one is my favourite, but I can't quite be certain, because I've loved them all, because Northern Ireland was absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend coming here for landscape photography. I've been Dan, working with Wex Photo Video, and I'll catch you in the next one.